Hi everyone. For our final project for business law, I am doing gender discrimination under the Civil Rights Act, Title VII. This topic is close to my heart. I'm an advocate for the LGBTQ community, transgenders, and women and their rights. I think women are strong, they can do anything, and I think so many times we're thought of as weak and we can't reach our full potential. I mean, things have gotten better, but we still have a long way. And so this topic just interests me and is important to me, and I thought it'd be really interesting to go ahead and do some research and get some additional information. So I hope you all enjoy the presentation. We'll go ahead and start with some background. Under the Civil Rights Act of 1964, Title VII, gender discrimination in employment is absolutely prohibited. An important fact that I learned during my research and in this class is that this act actually covers the discrimination of transgender individuals as well, which I find is really important. As a group, they need protection, and so I found that really just wonderful. So this presentation, as I said, is going to focus on the Civil Rights Act of 1964, Title VII, and its take on gender discrimination. But it is important to be aware that there are various other federal laws that also protect against gender discrimination. These may not be in the same aspect as the Civil Rights Act, but they protect against gender discrimination. So some examples of the other laws that would protect against gender discrimination would be the Family and Medical Leave Act, Pregnancy Discrimination Act, etc. As we all know, this Civil Rights Act is a federal law put into place by our federal government. Some additional background was taken from a case earlier in our book. These couple facts I just find are really important in understanding this act and what it truly means. So an important aspect of this I wanted to discuss is although Title VII prohibits employment discrimination on the basis of sex in most instances, it permits discrimination where sex is a bona fide occupational qualification reasonably necessary to the normal operation of the defendant's particular business or enterprise. As we've learned in this class, there are loopholes, there are laws, rules that will make exceptions for certain topics. We've seen this all throughout the semester. So this is just an example of an exception in regards to gender discrimination. The BFOQ defense is written narrowly, and the Supreme Court has read it narrowly. A BFOQ can be established only by objective, verifiable requirements that concern job-related skills and aptitudes. So keep both of these in mind throughout the presentation. They tie into the act and they help us better understand gender discrimination, what it's meaning, what the exceptions are, etc. So now I'm going to cover some compliance-related information, and for this section, which will be the next couple slides, I wanted to cover the agency that governs this act and carries out investigations, etc. I found that was really important to understanding the act as a whole. So the agency that handles this is the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, the EEOC. We've heard about this agency the entire semester, so it's nothing new. But to reiterate, it's a federal agency responsible for administering and enforcing civil rights laws against workplace discrimination, and this includes gender discrimination. Among other things, the EEOC is responsible for investigating reported discrimination, mediating disputes, and settling complaints. So the EEOC has a whole process that they go through in handling these cases. Ultimately, there's going to be 3 possible outcomes. 1 would be a cause as found. 2, there would be no cause found. Or 3, the conciliation process fails. So if a cause is found, there's going to be a process that the EEOC goes through. Basically, if the employee has been discriminated against, they are given 180 days from the time of the incident to file a charge with an EEOC office. Within 10 days of the EEOC receiving that complaint in charge, they're going to notify the employer. Then they are going to go ahead and begin an investigation to see if they can find cause to support the allegation of discrimination. And then finally, they make a finding of cause. So another scenario would be no cause is found. In that case, the employee can request a review of the determination. This needs to be done within 14 days of the decision. If no cause is found, a right to sue letter is going to be issued. However, if a cause is found, the EEOC starts conciliation, and as a result of the conciliation, employee and employer will reach a settlement. The last possible outcome you could see is the conciliation process fails. Employee and employer can't reach a settlement, things aren't going well in that front. So in this case, the EEOC will issue a right to sue letter or file a lawsuit on the employee's behalf. If they issue the right to sue letter, a lawsuit has to be filed within 90 days. So I know that was a lot of information, but as far as compliance, this is the information that's important to know. So now we were asked to pick out a couple news stories that are related to our topic. The first one I found was about the LGBTQ community. So in June 2020, the Supreme Court ended up extending protection under the Civil Rights Act to LGBTQ employees against gender discrimination, and this is in the entire country. Prior to this, the LGBTQ employees were only protected about half of the United States. With this ruling, LGBTQ employees can't legally be fired or refused to be hired based on their sexual orientation or gender identity. And then the author of this article, which it was a great article, I recommend you reading it, David Savage, ended up interviewing Alphonso David, and he is the president of the Human Rights Campaign. And he said, this is a landmark victory for LGBTQ equality. No one should be denied a job or fired simply because of who they are or whom they love. The other article I read was released in April 2020 and basically discusses a transgender fire chief who was in the department for over 10 years and was fired about 18 months after coming to work as a woman. And she has filed a federal discrimination lawsuit against the city. In her termination letter, the employer didn't put any mention of her gender identity, but she was fired based on her sex, gender identity, and notions of sex stereotyping. Because of this, not only did she lose her wages and her retirement benefits, her reputation had also been damaged. This is a sad story of what it looks like when laws like the Civil Rights Act aren't abided by. And as of the time of the article, no official ruling had been made. My suggestions are simple. My number one suggestion is employers need to be entirely familiar with employment law and they need to keep up to date with the changes. They also need to have a good lawyer that's going to look out for them and keep them advised on how to stay compliant with the laws. And finally, look after yourself as an employer, but also look after your employees. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it.